All right, so I'm James Culmer of Blessed with Words Publishers, and here we have with us Crystal Jones, new author of the book Regain Worth. And I just want to prelude this with how we met and how this book, came into fruition. And I remember once you found out, we went to the same class, business class, and I was listening to everybody's visions, and you were telling me about your vision, about other things that you were doing. And then once you found out that I did book publishing, you said, "Oh man, I have this book that I want to do this, that, and the other." And normally, I say, "Okay, well, just let me know whenever you're ready." And some months later, you contacted me, and so now here we are. And so, one of my first questions for you is, why did you ultimately make the decision to share your experiences when there's so many women that won't share that experience or struggle with that? Why did you make that initial decision to share your story?
So my initial decision was I had my housewarming party when I first moved away from Charlottesville. And right when the party was over, we all were on Facebook and all we saw was rest in peace, rest in peace. And we didn't know what was happening and why people were posting rest in peace to a young lady named Amanda Bates. And she was a good friend of mine that I knew. And so my cousin called. He said, "Don't go down 250. They got the road blocked off." And so a little while later, we finally found out why she was killed. And she was killed by her abuser, someone that she was going to marry, someone that she had put her trust and love into. And I had spoken out with her mom when I decided to do this, that I wanted to reach out to her and tell her about this book that I wanted to write. And so that actually was my drawing point of saying, it's time to talk. It's time to talk. And so that was actually the first time that I ever wrote about anything about my abuse on Facebook, was when that happened.
Okay, all right. Why the title Regain Worth? Now, and I want to say this: we went through quite a bit titles trying to figure out what was the best title to really, put this into the perspective on what you really wanted to speak. Because the book is definitely written a little differently than your average abuser, abusee,
Right.
type of book. But why Regain Worth?
I think I decided on Regain Worth because I had lost my worth. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know the value that I actually had as a woman. Um, and so Regain Worth was something that kind of like popped out at me because I had to regain everything all over again. I had to refine myself as the woman that I knew I wanted to be. But during that time, I forgot who she was. I didn't know what she wanted to be as a mother, as a friend, as a daughter. I didn't know how to even accept her as the person that she was at that time. And so I think Regain Worth was very fitting because I had to regain so much stuff back for myself and for my kids. So.
Wow. Okay. And I want to jump right into the book. And you mentioned fear in the book quite a few times. Explain how does fear cripple women in abusive relationships?
Ooh, fear. Um, mm, I would have to speak on the moments that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
The fear was fear of not knowing whether or not I was going to wake up the next day. Fear was the fact that I didn't know if I was ever going to be good enough for anybody. Fear was the fact that I didn't know if my kids saw me cry. I feared that they would hear me, but they would also be fearful. Um, Fear was something that took over my nights because those nights were hard. And just to know that when he was near me, that it was too hot. That was part of my fear. Just knowing that demon that was near me frightened me. I didn't know when he put his hands on my throat, am I gonna come out? Am I gonna be able to hug my kids again? And so with him even having his hands on me in that manner, that makes you fear for so many different things in your life, because you have to be there for your kids, but at the same time, you're not knowing what this person's mentality is or their mental state is. And so you're just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I just hide it from everybody until I'm able to actually write about it. And so it kind of helped me to journal through all of this every day. I talked to the Lord through my journals. I wrote about my days of my fear because that's how I got it out. I didn't want to really tell everybody because I didn't want so many people in the mix of it. And so I would say definitely fear is it's all over. You're fearing for everything. So.
And to ask you another question on that fear topic, what was the moment? What was that one of those defining moments that you knew that he put fear into your heart? Was this early in the relationship, or what was that defining moment?
That moment of fear hit me early in the relationship when he told me he would have someone slice my face, because I knew I was a pretty girl, and he also knew that, but he also knew that he could just tell me, if I have such and such slice your face, then what you gonna do? I was ready to go, but how was I gonna go with him telling me,
right,
if you leave, right, then I'll have such and such slice your face? And I'm like, okay, let me sit down. Those
right,
are the things that you have to stop and you have to think about. Like, is he really gonna do that? Are those words real? And so that does mentally and emotionally, it hits you, because even now to this day, I can't stand for somebody to even playfully threaten me with anything, because those are the things that it will come back to you. Like, oh, right, is that a sign? And that could be a friend, that could be anybody. And so that was the moment, and it was early. It was probably within, the first year, okay, I would say. Yeah.
And the one thing that I like about your book is that this is not a book that you just go hard on your abuser. You was also hard on yourself, and you called yourself on some things. And so you mentioned being insecure and seeking attention as well. So talk to that. Talk to that part.
Definitely insecure came because he told me I was only worth, my butt. Like, people only looked at me because of my shape or something like that. And then he also told me, how I was not nothing. I didn't mean nothing. I was nothing. I'm just Crystal. Who is she? And so that makes a woman really look at herself like, you're not really pretty, because he doesn't think so. That's the person that you love, right? That's the person that's right, supposed to make you feel like you're the most beautiful thing in the world.
Right.
But instead, right, he didn't make me feel like that. And so that would definitely damper, oh, let me just put on some baggy clothes, because if I put on something else, he's going to tell me, no, you're not going out like that. You mine. But why? If you secure with yourself, why wouldn't I not be able to walk out like that?
Right.
So just right, those things will make you look at yourself like, I'm not worth anything. You go into a state of mind where you're not no longer thinking about how you're supposed to be. You're just going with the flow.
Right. Now, what do you tell those women? What do you tell those insecure women, or those women that they sometimes feel like the negative attention is still attention. So what do you tell, what do you tell them?
Now, even now to this day, I will still tell that woman, because I've told a few that have reached out to me, that you are beautiful. You don't have to need his approval for anything. You don't need your husband's approval. You don't need your boyfriend's approval. You really, you are the person that makes you, not nobody else.
Right.
So you yourself, you have to know what you're worth. You have to know what you are, and your clothes don't define you. Your makeup don't define you. What's in the inside is what defines you.
Right.
And so that comes out on the outside. So that what makes everything about you beautiful. So.
Right. And you also talked a little bit about your, the lack of a father presence, growing up as well. So can you talk to that?
Yes. Actually, it's strange because my dad kind of got upset after he read the book, because he didn't take the time to truly understand what I was actually saying. So as a little girl coming up, my dad lived far away in DC, and so I only got to see him in the summers. But with him calling and saying, hey, I'm going to come and visit you, and then me as the young girl, sitting on the doorstep, I got my stuff packed and my mom's in the house, and I'm like, Dad's coming. And then like the night comes and Dad's not there. So at times I felt like, because he was there with my sister and my brother, that he loved them more because I was here.
Right.
And so I really never got to see him like I wanted to, or the fact that, he would stand me up. And so I think I took that into my relationship also, because, you telling me you're going to do something and then you not do it, that kind of like let me down. Right. So as a daughter, not having him there as a young girl, that really, really hurt me a lot. And so I hid it from my mom, but she knew, okay, Crystal, you're going to understand this when you get older. Right. And so I really didn't have like a great relationship until I got older with my dad. And he just found out about all of this after reading the book. And so now we are closer. I can call him and tell him anything. And he's just like, okay, I'm here. I'm listening now. Right. I'm hearing you. So it's a big difference from not having him as a little girl, because your father is what you look up to as a daughter. So right. That's what you right. look for in a man.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so you were looking for those things specifically from different relationships that you didn't get from your father?
Yeah.
I just
like the love, the comfort. I didn't get that from Dad.
Right.
So I looked for that in someone else. And so those people and that person, he wasn't any of those things, even though I tried to make him be that person, but I couldn't. Right.
So I'm glad you actually just said that when you said you tried to make him be something that he probably was not. I want talk to that a little bit, because there are so many women that feel like they can mold somebody to be what they want, right. And they may end up being an abuser or someone that will take advantage of that situation. But the whole time you're thinking, I'll give it just a little bit more time,
right.
to see if he changed. But talk to that a little bit.
So definitely, I wanted him to attend church with me. I wanted him to love on me. And sometimes he would, because that was benefit of him. And then the times that he didn't, here I am, I feel like I'm begging you to be someone that you're actually not. And so that made him mean. Right. And so it was like, no, I don't want to hug you, those type of things. Or I don't want to be bothered with you, those type of things.
Right.
So you definitely don't want to try to change someone. That comes from his upbringing. And so I would say, when I say his upbringing, because as a mom, I have 2 boys. And so if I enable them to do these things as a young boy to another female. And I always told my son, my oldest son, I ever don't want to ever see you do any of these things that you've seen mommy go through. Because number one, if you have a girlfriend and then there's another girl, I'm going to tell them. I'm not going to enable you, because if I did that, then I'm not much of a woman, because now these two women are now going through something that they shouldn't have to go through. And so me as a woman that went through that, I don't want to ever see another woman go through that. And so making a man be something that he's not, it should have already started at home.
Right. That's a good point. Good point. One chapter is probably one of the stronger chapters in the book, is really breaking down all the different types of abuse. I think there's this ignorant perception that physical abuse is the only abuse,
right?
And is rare. People talk about it, but it's rare to say this is what emotional abuse look like. This is what verbal abuse look like. This is what mental abuse look like. And so let's talk to that for a minute and break down the different abuses as it relates to your actual reality.
Okay. First, I would say in my reality, it came with the verbal and emotional first, because the words came out of how I wasn't worthy. So it kind of made me down. I had dark days. And so it makes you not feel good about yourself. You tend to accept things that you shouldn't accept. You see the world as you're just this little piece of it, and nobody can help you. It's just you. Just you. Even though you got family, you got kids, it's just you. So that physical comes after that verbal, because now they've gotten to the point where they have you confined in the house. It's dark. You can't go anywhere. Why don't you want to go anywhere? Because if I do, he's going to tell me I'm this or I'm that. You look like a whore, or you're this. And so those are those verbal parts. But then the physical comes when he does put his hands on you, because now you're trying to talk back, or you're trying to say, well, you did this and you did that, and all of a sudden you get a smack in the face, or the fact that you want to get up and leave and he puts his hands at your throat. Then what? So everything comes in a staggered, state. So my case, the verbal and emotional came first, then the physical happened, and then now everything together is like, boom.
Right.
Now what? Do you run? Do you leave? Like, how do you leave? How do you get out of this? Because now you're like, I'm tired. You become very tired. You don't sleep much. That affects a lot of your physical ability. You're not thinking clearly. You stop going to church. Those things I lost a lot of. I stopped going to church. He didn't want to go to church with me. Now I see why.
Right.
So, those things I learned, and I don't know, it's just between mental, emotional, and verbal, those two things stick with you the most, even after you're out, because it's in the inside. Right. And you have to continue to pray, and you have to continue to seek God, because you're just like, no, I can get over this part.
Right.
The bruises are gone, but those words sometimes still stay there. And so you have to sometimes live with those every day. And even though you are strong, you still hear those in the back of your mind, but you still know, no, I am better than that, so.
Right. So at the physical, did you believe the apology the first time?
No.
The very first time that he put hands on you, did you believe the apology?
I didn't have a thought. Like, I was like, no, you hit me, No. What? Oh, wait a minute. Did did that just really just happen, And for him to say, "Oh, I'm sorry," but then I had to think about him telling me how he saw his dad hit his mom. That was something that you saw. So now this is something that you think is okay.
Right.
But you're not really sorry, because if you did, then you wouldn't have touched me. You would have just kept talking to me. Or number one, you wouldn't have did some of the things that you did. And so me calling you out on some of your wrongs, now your next step is to hit me. No, you meant to hit me. So, your apology, no.
Were you afraid to get physical back with them? Now, there are those women, I think that we talked about that in the book, where you do have some of these women that still stay in the relationships.
Right.
And they're fighting back and forth, where you may have some women that's not even going to fight back, but you do have those women that fight back but still stay in that situation. Was that your case? Or
no, I didn't fight back. Because he was taller than me. And so it was like, this is the first time I ever had a man touch me.
Right. Okay.
It's the first time I ever had somebody hit me. Other than being in high school or elementary school, and you're fighting with one of your girlfriends. That's different. This was actually the first time that a man has actually put his hands in my face. And so that was just like, whoa, am I going to come out of this? Is this something that's going to be the normal? So no, just my thought was not to fight back. It was just new.
Right.
That was the scary part. Like, what do? Do you act like the little girl that my mom taught me to be? You find the biggest thing that you can find and you wear the head out. You don't think about those things.
Right.
And so I'm thankful that I didn't, because I don't know if I would be here. So I'm just thankful that I didn't.
Right. What are some of the red flags that you would tell women that's just getting into a new relationship? So you went through this for about 7 years.
Yeah.
And so what would you tell that this new relationship, this woman is getting into this relationship? What are some of the things that she need to look for?
Definitely the lies, the deceit, the hiding of bone, the jealousy. You can't go here, you can't go there type of thing. Why can't I? I'm with my girlfriends. When he doesn't allow you to go out with your girlfriends, or checking my phone, checking your phone. Just how he talks to you.
Right.
Because you are a queen. So he should not talk to you in certain ways or manners.
But certainly she shouldn't be blinded by some of the more obvious things. Because you, in the book that you do mention that there were things that you said you were blinded, but then again, you were willing to accept some of these things.
Right. Or, I would say too, when I heard certain things, kind of listened to it because I didn't know. But then I kind of had in the back of my mind, well, maybe that is true.
Right.
But then it's like, nah, because the mom confirmed it, but then she was a liar too. So it was a pull type of situation. And so I would definitely say to follow your gut.
Okay.
Because now as I'm older and I know more about who I want to be and who I am, I follow my gut a lot. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to pull back from people. You'll know how to pull back. You'll know how to handle them in certain manners.
Right.
So yeah, definitely the jealousy and telling you, what you can and what you cannot do. Those are definitely flags too. His mental state. Because you don't know, he's trying to deal with things that he's dealing with, but now he's taking it out on you.
Right.
And so those are some things also, that I did go through. You happen to, well, I didn't do that, but I'm gonna take it out on you anyway.
Right.
Because you're there. You're the person that's there. So, and definitely I would say, because I have been talking to different young ladies and letting them know when they do ask me questions, you don't have to accept anything. You don't have to accept that. You are who you are, and he or no one else should change that.
Right.
And so if you have to dim your light for someone else, then you don't need them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the most difficulties and the realities of it is, and you had, mentioned this a little earlier, is death is a possibility.
Right.
And so to those women that fear the threat of death, and so this is why they're not leaving, because they are truly afraid of that dynamic. What do you specifically tell them that they're literally paralyzed because of that reality? And sadly, it is a reality that it does happen. So does your message change for those women, or the message is pretty much straight across the board? You have to leave regardless.
Oh, it would change slightly, because they would definitely need to seek help. They would need to find someone to help them. Because if you don't, and if you stay quiet, you have people telling you, leave. I have people telling me plenty of times, leave, girl, what you doing? And I'm like, it's not that easy.
Right.
Because now you're in this cycle. You're in this, oh, you could go, and then oh, I'm so sorry, you can come back. But one day that sorry is going to be, now if I can't have you, then nobody else can.
Right.
And so not only one person that I know, but two happened just like that, back to back. And so yeah, definitely you would want to seek that help, or find someone and get away. Find a house that you can go to and just stay there.
Right.
But you got to reach out to the police. And I know the night that he was at Stonefield, that was like you in this police car finally? Yes. Okay, now what do I do? You got to get your protective order. And sometimes the police not going to believe you, because they make you do that 15, 30, and then more years. You have to get a 15-day protective order. Then you have to come back. Most women say, oh, it's okay, he can come back. But what if you don't make it to that 30?
Right.
So you have to stand on, I'm done. I'm over this. I'm worth more. And now I'm going to go for the 15, the 30, and now give me 2 years. So if I got this paper that I'm riding around with, then I'm kind of safe, because I can flash this paper and the police know, sir, you're not supposed to be near her. You have at least a little bit of protection. And so that's why I decided to move at night. So nobody knew how to find me. Nobody knew where I went to. It was easier for me and my kids to just up and do that. And then now we have a new start. But then in the back of your mind is still, is he looking for me? Wow. Does he care about this restraining order? And so a gun does not really stop the paper. And so unfortunately, some people don't live to tell their story. And two women that I know didn't get that chance to do that. And so I would definitely say you would have to get that help.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give you 2 words. The first word, forgiveness.
Ooh. That was a hard one for me. Forgiveness was something that I had to learn. by going back to church. And I learned that if I didn't forgive, then I would block my blessings that I knew God had for me. And so once I learned how to forgive him, I was able to love myself a lot more. I was able to get my own business. I could grab a hold to all of these things that I knew I needed and I wanted. And so I had to ask myself, how would I react if I saw him again? And somebody just asked me that the other day. And you know, I would actually look at him and smile because I know that you did not defeat me. Mm-hmm. And so I had someone higher than you that loved me more, and he kept me. And so that forgiveness part is something that you definitely have to seek and you definitely have to work for, because if you don't, you're going to allow so many other things to happen to you. You're going to block everything that God has for you. And now I'm just like, I'm proud of myself. Mm-hmm. I'm happy for myself because I can look at that person and say, you don't win. I win. And it's okay because my revenge is not mine. God has that. Mm-hmm. And so he has to deal with what God has for him. And so you definitely have to forgive. You got to. Mm-hmm. That is a must. That is a must.
Absolutely. And I want to add context to what forgiveness is. Some people believe that you have to go back to the way things were, and forgiveness is so far from that. Oftentimes, forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation and we're cool. It means that person no longer has that hold on you.
Yeah.
I love the way that you, explained that. And then my second word is actually 3 words: marriage after abuse.
Wow. Marriage after abuse is definitely scary, especially if you're just learning this person, and you're learning so much more afterwards. I met my husband so strangely. I met him on Facebook, and so me getting to know someone that I actually did not know. I didn't know his background. I didn't know what he had been through in life. So I had to learn someone all over again and then actually learn to trust again. Mm-hmm. And so I would definitely say that after learning and knowing what I wanted in a person, those were my questions that I asked him on our date. Do you go to church? Do you believe in the Lord? Stuff like that. Those were important to me. And, do you go out on dates? Do you like, to tell your girlfriend that you love her? Do you like to just hug on her? These are some of the questions that I asked him. And he was just like me. To an extent, and you don't realize what someone else goes through until you actually talk to them. And so me learning that my husband was also learning to trust people again, and that not only women are verbally abused, men are too. And right. So me having to learn how to love him through his pain, also him learning to love me through mine, it was like definitely a growing thing for us. Right. And so now I can say we are definitely in a good place where I can talk to him. I can say what I want. And he gonna look at me like either, girl, no. Or he gonna be like, well, yeah, babe, that's kind of cool. So yes, I would say it's definitely possible if you let your guard down. because you're going to have to learn how to do all of these things all over again.
Right.
And it is scary. And I'm not going to lie. It is very scary. And so, yes, marriage after abuse has been definitely a journey.
So it is very much possible.
Yes.
It's so much hurt that it seems that once you're abused, that a lot of women struggle in that area that of trusting again or trying to let down that guard again or love again. But I just wanted to make sure that, yes, to let you know, for you to let them know it is very much possible that that can happen.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It is possible. And you're going to know what it feels like. You're going to know. And at times you may say, hold on, this look familiar. Wait a minute. Well, is that this kind of familiar? Or is it that you still are thinking that all people are like this?
Right.
And so definitely you would have to talk to them and tell them what you've actually been through so that they can understand it. And then once they understand it, they know, oh, hold on, that is a sentimental part for her. So maybe I need to say it a little bit different.
Right.
Or, so yes, definitely.
Right.
It's definitely a possible thing.
All right. And then the last question, to sum up your message, what do you really want abused women, and well, I guess and men too, you mentioned men as well too.
Yeah.
What is it that you really want people to know?
Writing this book has opened up my eyes to so many different things that I didn't know that people were going through. And so I want everyone to know that you don't have to accept certain things. You don't have to accept nothing that you don't want to, whether you're a man or a woman. That love does not hurt. Love does not scar you. Love does not talk down on you. And that you are more than what somebody may say that you're not. And so writing this book has helped me understand my own self, for one thing, but also being able to help another woman understand that abuse is something that she does not have to take. She does not have to live her morning, noon, and night worrying whether or not she's going to live today or tomorrow, all because a man has a problem with himself or a woman has a problem with herself. Because women do, they hit the men too. And you don't have to accept that.
Right.
You don't have to take that. And you're so much more than that. And you have to know inside of yourself. And if that means you need to walk every day and meditate every day, if you need to journal every day, then you do that. If that's going to help you, do that. That way you can let out some things that you have going on. Talk to someone also. Right. I remember just talking to a counselor, and I remember talking to a first lady to be able to try to get understanding. And so definitely I want them to know that they can go and talk to someone. Your family is there. Love on your family because they don't know what's going on. They're confused, trying to figure out stuff. And so I definitely want them to know that you don't have to do this by yourself. You don't have to be alone in this. And if you have kids, you definitely do not want them to see you go through any of this. Because me learning from my three, my oldest, it has really put something on him. And so now we are learning together how to handle this. And so your kids are not going to say much, but eventually they will. And so you definitely don't want to put your kids through any of this. Because it does not just scar you, it scars them. So I just want to be able to help someone understand and learn that mental, emotionally, verbal, and physically, they don't have to go through any of that. So.
All right. Well, that's good. And here we have Crystal Jones, author of Regain Worth. Um, and if you have not got a copy just yet, you can get that copy on blessedwithwords.org, Cash App, Regain Worth, um, and it will be ebook shortly, Amazon shortly, and distributed uh, everywhere. So, thank you, Miss Jones. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.